Good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful day, so I'm back in the car. The kids are asleep. Everyone's asleep, and so I actually have a little bit of a window to make a video. I've got my coffee with me, and hopefully I can get this one done before the kids wake up and start tearing the house to pieces. I wanted to talk about why I haven't been making Manosphere videos. It's been okay. My second son just celebrated his third birthday, so it's been about 3 years, a little over 3 years, since I made Manosphere videos. And for a while, that was kind of my thing. I was making lots of videos about men's rights and, how the dating market works for men. And, I'd do book reviews of different male gurus' take on the dating market. And, that was fun and all, but I kind of stopped. And I kind of wanted to talk about why I stopped. I do think that some of the original ideas in the Manosphere were actually pretty decent. I really did like The Rational Male when I first read it. It was interesting. But The Rational Male was, actually, if you read the text of the book itself, it was fairly moderate. He was talking about how there were a lot of factors that could interrupt this general trend that we saw in a lot of women. It wasn't all women. And I know he talks about AWOLT, all women are like that. But originally, that was because he was addressing the issue of NAWALT. Not all women are like that. Anytime he makes a statement, women do this. A bunch of people jump up and say, well, not all women are like that. And it's like, well, you're not addressing the actual problem. There's a trend of women acting in a certain way that is very toxic. Can we address this? Well, not all women are like that. Yeah, but there's enough of them doing it that it's a problem. Can we talk about that? I can agree with that, but then it kind of shifted, and I don't think it was Tomasi that did this so much as all the gurus who kind of followed after him, but it shifted from NAWALT, the let's dismiss your argument because, well, it's not all women, to AWOLT. Well, yes, all women really are like that. And that's kind of where I started to have a problem, because human beings are not so simple that they're easily boiled down to this really simple formula. People aren't that simple. There's always going to be an exception to every rule. That's what makes people interesting. That's what makes them unique. It makes them human. If we were all robots, then we could all be programmed with simple formulae. But we're not. And then I saw angry man after angry man after angry man, and it was usually either older men who never really got along well with women and couldn't figure out why, who think that it's the women's fault because they don't want to look in a mirror, or younger men who are still trying to figure women out, who are like, all these older guys are telling me it's impossible, and I think maybe they're right. So it's either young dudes, early to mid-20s, I think, sometimes as late as 30s, but usually by that point they've gotten their shit together. Young dudes who can't figure their shit out or haven't started figuring their shit out, or really, really old dudes who never figured their shit out. And I guarantee you, those older dudes who never figure their shit out, that are super bitter, it's not just the women. It's not just the women. They have some shit they need to figure out. They have some life stuff they need to sort through. That's why they're so angry. But I would get these two groups of men constantly leaving angry comments on my videos. Just, telling me what a piece of shit I was. I was less than dirt. Even though I was agreeing with them, I was still this horrible, awful, terrible person because I was born with a vagina. And that's the only complaint that they really have against me. I was born with a vagina. How dare I? It's all your fault, Missy. Women aren't loyal. That was one thing. Women aren't ever loyal. You're just waiting to betray your husband. You're using him. We know you are. You're just waiting for that chance, And I'd get message after message after message after message like this. And it's like, I know that these are people who are in a bad place in their lives. Maybe they're really old, they're getting, pretty close to seeing that grave, and they're getting really bitter because they've spent an entire lifetime fucking up all their relationships, and they need someone to blame because they don't want to take responsibility for themselves. That is a group. It's not the whole manosphere, but that is definitely a distinct group of men within the manosphere. It happens. I've seen it a lot. It's real. Just because you're an old man and you're having trouble with relationships, maybe your wife up and left you. Maybe you've got to figure that all out. That might not necessarily be your fault. But there is a distinct tier of men in the manosphere who are just angry, bitter, nasty people. Like, not every person in the manosphere is a saint, guys. Some of them are just plain nasty. I get comments from those guys all the time. And then, of course, the young guys who are still figuring it out. It's like, I've never had a girlfriend. Maybe I'm an incel. Women are mysterious creatures. God knows how anybody manages to date them. And on top of that, I have all these older men telling me that it's impossible, so why even try? I just watched a couple of men in a YouTube video, and I would not call them like simping kinds of men at all. And they were discussing how you've got these bitter older men who are talking to these younger, confused, just starting up men and telling them, oh, it's not worth trying. Women aren't worth the effort. Let's all just go be hilariously or ridiculously tragic together. I think that was the term they used. And it's like, yeah, no, I get that. I see a lot of that in the manosphere. Younger men being told, oh, just give up. What's the point? And, they haven't even started yet. It takes time to figure women out. I still haven't figured women out. I decided to just marry a man because it's like, dating women is hard. So I'd get all these comments. And my husband had a brain tumor. And his personality changed. It didn't change overnight, but I remember it changed. I married the man of my dreams. And yeah, I didn't marry him because he was rich. I had more money than he did. I married him because he was just a fantastic human being, and I loved talking with him, and I loved spending time with him, and I loved just being close to him. I loved him for who he was, for what was in here. And that was all I wanted. I wanted to spend the rest of my life with this person. I wanted to grow old with him. I wanted to go on this huge adventure called life. And you spend your entire lifetime just doing this one adventure of life together. I wanted that with him. And I married him, and we started out on that adventure together. And within a couple years, he had a brain tumor. Say about 2 years after marrying him, he started to change. And he just started to go away. And year after year after year, he was just less there. And he told me he was really, really tired. And he told me he was really stressed out, from work. And I missed him, and I didn't understand why he wasn't there anymore. Like he was just, not there. And it was really hard because I felt like I was married to this stranger, and my husband was gone. And there'd be these moments, he'd have these little flickers where I'd see him smile in a certain way, or he'd tell me a joke, or he'd say something that he'd found funny, and I'd see him again. He'd be right there, and I'd be like, oh, this is good. It's not like he's gone away. It's just things are rough right now, right? I think if I'm doing my math right, we'll be married 13 years this fall. We finally got the brain tumor fixed, about 3 years ago. He found it, and, 2.5 years ago. And discovered that's what it was, and started getting medication for it because, they could fix it, they could treat it. Luckily it wasn't cancerous or fatal or anything like that, and so they started treating it, and he's still not back to where he was. He's missed this huge chunk of his life. He was kind of just zoned out for the birth of his children, most of his children. We had another one. And things are hard. They're still hard, He's still struggling with a lot of those issues, It wrecked his body. It wrecked his health. It killed a bunch of job opportunities that he might have had the energy to pursue if he hadn't been so sick. It really wrecked up his life. Brain tumors can really wreck up your life. And he's still struggling with it. The tumor itself, we've treated that, but all of the effects that tumor had on his life, he's still dealing with those. And it's just really hard. That all started up about 2 years after we got married. So it's been about 11 years that we've been dealing with the tumor, or treating the tumor, or dealing with the after effects of the tumor. And I've got countless random men, trying to channel their anger anywhere but toward productive means. Because it's so much easier to be angry at the world outside than to say, I need to do something to fix my situation. Countless angry men commenting on all my videos, telling me that I'm a whore, telling me that I'm not loyal because women like me aren't loyal, strippers aren't loyal, I'm not capable of loyalty, telling me that I'm just using my husband, and the moment he's not exactly what I want him to be, I'll just turn around and leave and find someone else. We went through the adventure of life together, and I think people have this rosy idea that when they get married and you make those vows, richer, poorer, better or worse, sickness and health, it's all just going to be a yellow brick road through a garden of roses. It's going to be just freaking wonderful. And you guys think that I'm just going to back out the moment the going gets tough. I hate to tell you guys, the going's been tough. It got tough just a couple years in. We got our honeymoon. It was a beautiful honeymoon. And then the going got really tough. And it stayed tough. And then, of course, AWOLs, all women are like that. Like, some of the original ideas in the Manosphere were good. I think men's rights is a good thing that needs to be talked about. I think men's rights are important. I think men's rights need to be given some importance. There are too many men in our society who are being screwed over by our society and treated unfairly and unjustly. And I think injustice is injustice. It doesn't matter what your gender is. If you are being treated unjustly, then that is wrong. That's it. That's all there is to it. Men's rights are important. Women's rights are also important. Human rights. Are you human? Yeah, your rights are important. But all this guru shit online, you can really see where, as time passes, they're just repeating the same bullshit again and again and again, trying to get those clicks. And it's so empty and hollow, boring. I see countless men telling me that women can't be loyal, while I'm sitting here actively being loyal day after day, holding on because what else can I do? It's like, oh, well, you would cheat if you could. Really? Really? You think men haven't messaged me? Multiple men? Do you know how many people I've cut off contact with? But all these guys constantly. You'd cheat if you could. Really? I don't know if there are enough middle fingers in this universe to tell you how I feel about that statement. I don't know if a person could utter the word fuck enough in a lifetime to give you all the fuck yous that you deserve for telling me that. So yeah, I just stopped making Manosphere videos. You know, I'm reading through all these books and doing these book reviews, and it's like, oh yes, a woman will leave a man if he doesn't, keep acting alpha for her. And it's like, brain tumors happen. Sickness happens. Reality happens. COVID happens. Layoffs happen. You say those goddamn vows, you better fucking mean them. I know I sure as hell did, and I know my husband really did. 'Cause he was there when I was bleeding to death, holding my hand. I know there's a bunch of people in this world who give up when the going gets tough, but I've never been one of those people. And yes, I was born with a vagina. And yes, I think men's rights are very important. But I'm so sick of the shit. I'm so sick of the Manosphere guru, buy my book and buy my health potion, buy my protein powder, buy my testosterone enhancer, buy my shit. Give me money, and I'll tell you anything you want to hear. I'm sorry. If anything good comes up, I'll talk about it. Anything interesting, anything new. I've got that goldfish brain. I'll chase after something shiny. So if anything interesting comes up in the men's rights kind of subject matter, I'll definitely talk about it. But I am so sick and tired of a bunch of jaded men who never figured out how to make it work with women telling me that it's women's fault. Universally. All women. All women? Okay. You're just holding your breath waiting for me to betray my husband, to cheat on my husband, to leave my husband. You have no idea how sad it is to watch the person that you love, love enough to marry, when they're just not there. You have no idea what it's like to reach out to them and try day after day, year after year. Just try to be close to them as much as you can. Because even though they're really tired and they really don't feel well and you really don't know why, you still love them and you still want to be with them. And you still want some little flicker of hope that they're still in there somewhere. Maybe it doesn't mean as much because I've gotten older and uglier. I'm not as hot and young and 20-something as I was when I first met him. So maybe my message seems a little less relevant to you guys. The thing was, I met him when I was 23. I asked him to marry me when I was 23. In my prime. Those prime years when a woman is just as beautiful as she possibly can be. I was an exotic dancer. I was really, really healthy. I had the body that exotic dancers do because I was a pole dancer and a contortionist. I looked fucking awesome. And I asked him to marry me. And I stayed with him. Ever since. That was the last man I ever slept with. But you guys are all just holding your breath, just waiting for me to cheat on him. And, good, you hold your breath. I don't think any of you knows what loyalty is. Otherwise, you wouldn't be calling mine into question so much.